Hello, Tom Byrne from British Airways. It's great to meet you. How are you doing?
Very good, thank you for having me. It's a brilliant event, and my job is head of net zero, so this is kind of like the perfect event for me.
Yeah, exactly. So that leads me on to my next question. If you could talk a little bit about your role at British Airways and also how you first got into sustainability as well.
So yeah, my job is head of net zero and environment. So it's a privilege to have that for a brand like British Airways. I've always loved flying, and being able to hopefully contribute towards flying, getting more sustainable in time is a dream for me. So yeah, my team focus on accelerating our net zero program, which is about using less fuel, lower carbon fuels, and increasingly looking at carbon removals, but also looking after our wider environmental footprint. So that's food waste, single-use plastic, environmental compliance. So it's a really busy area, and a really brilliant job. And I've been in the industry for over a decade now, which sounds like a long time, but I primarily worked for big corporates in the built environment, online fashion, and now aviation, really trying to help businesses achieve their long-term carbon goals and climate goals. And it's been a good ride.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, so obviously there's so much to being in charge of a net zero or decarbonisation initiative at a company, and like you said, there are many different parts to it. Obviously, the biggest part in aviation is fuel. So it would be interesting to talk a little bit more about fuel efficiency, but then also sustainable aviation fuel as well, which is a big thing that we write about a lot. So it'd be great to get your thoughts about that.
Sure thing. I mean, you're completely right. The majority of our emissions are in our scope 1, and the majority of those is burning jet fuel, right? So that's the primary source of our emissions. So that's what we look at every single day to drive down. And there's 3 main ways of tackling that. That is using less fuel. So that is more efficient aircraft, operational efficiency. So our new aircraft, so our Airbus A350 uses 35% less fuel than the Boeing 747 that it was replacing. The Airbus A320neos use about 20% less fuel than the ones they're replacing. So work with companies like Airbus and Boeing to reduce improve fuel efficiency is really key. But it's also working with our operations staff and our pilots. So we operate every single day with more efficient processes and more efficient technology. So that's a really key part of our net zero pathway. We think that will do probably about a third of our emission reductions from where we'll be to where we need to get to. And things like SAF then follow on from that. So if we are using fuel, are we using lower carbon fuel? And that's where SAF really comes into it.
Yes. Oh, well, that's very interesting, isn't it? It's where technology and sustainability really meet, in this industry. There are lots of different interesting ways, other than just SAF by the sounds of things, to decarbonise fuel emissions. I remember reading about contrails as well. Do you do much work at BA about contrails at all?
Yeah. So carbon is part of the equation when it comes to climate, but there's this other element of our climate impact, which is called non-CO2, and so contrails form a large part of that. Non-CO2 is something that we are thinking about a lot. And have been for the last couple of years. And we're trying to work with the science community, with the academic community, just to improve the science and knowledge. Because with carbon, we really know, 1 ton of jet fuel that we burn equals 3 tons of CO2 into the atmosphere. And we know what that does to climate change and global warming. With non-CO2, including contrails, the level of uncertainty is much wider. So we're working to basically reduce that uncertainty. So we're working with the likes of Imperial College London, we're working with the likes of Bill Gates' Breakthrough Energy, and the UK government to actually improve the science. And that is by sharing data, that's by contributing towards research studies. We're actually doing a research study ourselves around how we could use SAF to reduce contrails as well. So it's a really emerging theme, and we're trying to collaborate as best we can with industry partners to improve our knowledge, improve the science, and then hopefully mitigate in the future, like we're doing with CO2 emissions.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and it's great to hear that there's quite a lot of collaboration happening in the industry because it's often called a hard to abate sector, right? So if there's people actually ready to team up and join forces on how to decarbonise, then that's a great thing. So as that wasn't really a question, I suppose, but
you're exactly right, and I think collaboration is. There's kind of three elements of collaboration that I think about. It's collaborating with your peers. So what are you doing to share information, best practice data with your peers? And as an industry, we all need to move towards that net zero position. It's no good to us if only BA does it, right? So we have to collaborate with our sister airlines and our peers. It's collaboration with supply chain. It's really important because BA don't produce planes, we don't produce fuel, we don't capture carbon emissions ourselves. We have to work with supply chain partners to do that. So unless you're collaborating with the innovators, the entrepreneurs in those fields to produce that solution that you need, you'll only get so far.
Yeah.
And then thirdly, is customer collaboration. So that might just be communicating to customers about what you're doing, giving them more data, more information about the issues around aviation, but also what we're trying to do to solve those issues. But also collaborating with corporate customers. So we know a lot of our corporate customers scope 3 footprint, right? So if they have science-based targets, they've got net zero goals, tackling that scope 3 is really important for them. We can work with them on those solutions, and that's whether that is just giving them information and data, helping them to make smarter choices, co-sponsoring things like SAF to drive down their emissions as well. That's really vital. So collaboration exists in lots of different ways, and without it, we won't get very far.